From near death to a life of psychic abilities, my incredible journey. Watch as we share a powerful story of a young woman who faced death and emerged with extraordinary gifts. Discover how her NDE unlocked her true potential and led to a life of fearless adventure and inner knowing. Don't miss out on this inspiring tale of transformation. Subscribe to Strange Stories now for more incredible stories like this.
Story number 1. My NDE happened in a bathtub. I'd been out and about on my kick scooter earlier that evening. At night, my kick scooter came across a specific type of pine cone under a very shady tree. It was the third night of presidential debates, 2016. I recall the exact moment I flew through the air, as well as my exact thought. And being intuitive, I knew the pain body belonged to the person I was thinking of. I landed on my knees. I was in a lot of pain, and I was at least 3 miles away from my cat. I had a can of cat food in my bag for her. I got up and used my scooter to get back to where my cat and I were staying, having been a personal fitness consultant and learning the importance of keeping bones in alignment. The pain became worse as I got closer to the house. The person who answered the door was the pain body I was picturing. When I asked him to turn down the TV so I could explain what had happened to him, he yelled at me. If I was snuggled up with his dog, he'd growl at him. Now that I think about it, there could have been some envy there. I went upstairs to check on my cat. As she slept and watched me, I raised my knee above my heart. She most likely noticed my rapid breathing. I drank quite a bit of water. Because I was physically tired, I began to consider how to sleep. I know, I thought. I'll sleep in the bathtub so that if I needed to use the toilet, it'll be nearby, or I can pee in the tub. Isn't he a genius? As I entered the adjacent bathroom, I felt sick to my stomach and wanted to vomit. Then I left the bathroom to Google nausea and shock on my computer. It was right there. I was in a state of shock. Instead of returning downstairs, which seemed very far away due to the intense pain, I returned to the bathroom using my director's chair as crutches. I sat in the tub and elevated my knee. Then it happened. The ceiling was getting closer. How is this possible? My body was arched and my heart was beating faster. All sounds became muffled and I experienced an intense sense of peace and bliss. I realized I was going to die. Of all places, a bathtub. What nonsense. Yet it's so soothing, so simple, so full and complete. I realized I wasn't grasping for anything earthly. I wasn't going back for anyone or anything. Then my lovely, tender, soft, wise 18-year-old, 19-year-old now, cat entered the bathroom and took a seat right next to the bathtub. I knew she could sense my spirit leaving Earth. Without much thought, or perhaps it was something along the lines of, no one is going to love you and give you as much space as you need as I swam backwards and down and returned to my body. Of course, I never looked down at my body. That would have terrified me. With my eyes open and all, laying in a bathtub, deceased. She sat there, silently waiting. To get to the bathroom, I sat in my director's chair. Despite the return of pain, I noticed that I was calm. She was also calm, and I told her, "Now, don't be afraid. I'm going to slam this door to get everyone awake so we can get help." She didn't make a meow. I slammed the door as hard as I could. I regularly lift 50 pounds and the walls were thin, repeatedly. She remains motionless. Nobody responded. I think I started laughing at the absurdity of it all. As I calmly took the director's chair to the stairwell, I saw visions. I ran into my grandfather. I also questioned the need for medical attention, but then I saw myself being wheeled out of the hospital in a wheelchair. I was aware that if I fell asleep, I might not wake up again. Furthermore, I knew that if I stayed away, whatever was wrong with my knee would heal quickly. And strangely, I also heard something about an ex-boyfriend, that this is my last chance to contact him about a relationship. This ex-boyfriend was also the one who once told me, "You choose your own death." So I hobbled to the stairwell using the director's chair and then down the stairs using the banister, and then I saw that wonderful, darling kick scooter at the bottom of the stairwell. I rolled across the floor of the living room to the phone. I called 911, and then I forgot my home's phone number. I got off the phone with the operator. I took a deep breath and dialed once more. I needed their assistance because if I didn't, I might fall asleep and never wake up again. When I called back, they said they had already gotten my phone number and dispatched an ambulance. Sirens approached, and I found it strange that the sirens were for me, self-sufficient me. They rang the doorbell, and it was only then that this pain body person emerged from his bedroom. He's an insomniac, remember? They attempted to move me, but my knee was so swollen that they couldn't. Only then did this pain body person provide me with any sort of validation. I didn't take the ambulance to save money. I sang songs to keep myself awake while waiting for this pain body person in the car. I asked this person to bring me my wallet, and she brought me an envelope full of jewelry that I planned to donate to charity. At this point, I realized, this is all a dream. My charitable giving is my source of abundance and fulfillment. This is what God is telling me through the unconscious person. As it happened, I already had my wallet. We went to the hospital where they brought me a wheelchair. They took x-rays in the emergency room. This pain body person and I now had the opportunity to speak. Long before that night, I'd been yelled at for bringing up the subject of synchronicity. We'd been polite to each other otherwise, and our conversations had been brief. And now he's telling me that, yes, there was a conversation about me around the time of the accident. You need surgery, the emergency room doctor said when I arrived. Your patella or kneecap is fractured. You've got to be kidding, I thought. I've never broken a bone in my life. He was dead serious. I've been a fitness consultant for over 20 years, and I'm a vegan, I explained. I'm not sure why, but the vegan part seemed to impress everyone there. I learned from previous clients that if there is a surgery, later calcification can develop, requiring more surgery, I continued. Furthermore, the muscle is in good condition, and I want to keep it that way. If the muscle is healthy, the bone will be healthy as well, so I'd rather do my own rehab through modified strength training. Okay, the doctor said. I'll give you the name of another doctor to consult with, and we'll give you a prosthetic to make your leg feel better. They brought crutches and a prosthetic leg. The nurse instructed the pain body person to pay attention to how it was wrapped, which the pain body person didn't do. Oh wow. My leg felt so much better, tightly cocooned in that thing. Then I was wheeled out of the hospital in a wheelchair, just as I had imagined. You're such a lightweight, the nurse commented. You're making my job a lot easier. Thank you for your assistance, I said. Aside from being a nurse, what else do you do? Well, I recently purchased a home, she explained. Congratulations, I said. How about I pray for you and your house, and you pray for my leg? You've got a deal, she exclaimed. Story number 2. My NDE occurred when I was 18 years old, during the summer preceding my freshman year of college. I was attending a university in Florida, had 2 summer jobs, lots of friends, and dated a lot. I didn't get much sleep and burned the candle at both ends. As a result, I became infected with mononucleosis for the second time. I allegedly had it when I was 6 or 7 years old. Some doctors believe it never completely disappears. I was admitted to the hospital with an extremely high fever, and my throat and airways were nearly completely swollen and closed. I recall my mother telling me that I needed to drink a lot of water quickly or I would die. I was clearly out of it, or delirious. I recall drinking the water and hearing a whooshing sound. Then I heard trumpets or some sort of horns making a pretty noise, but not playing melodic music. I noticed a bright tunnel of light ascending to the right, filled with darker figures. I wasn't scared. I drank the water. I'm not supposed to die, but this is kind of cool, I remember thinking. Then I backpedaled. My mother informed me that I had broken my fever and that my white blood cell count had improved. Because my ears were still affected, I could barely hear anything. Everything sounded muffled. I was desperate for sleep. I don't recall much of what happened after that, except that I refused to stay at home and missed my freshman year as planned. We lived about 300 miles from the university, a 5-hour drive away. Because I was still sick, my parents only drove for a few hours before stopping to let me rest. The doctor said I could go to college, but I couldn't get too tired or I'd get sick again. I had almost completely forgotten about my NDE at the time because I was sick and trying to get to classes. My hearing was still not normal, and I wanted to sleep all the time, so I nearly failed my first month. I gradually recovered and began to question my mother about my stay at the hospital. I asked her if I nearly died, and she remembered having to drink the water. But she had 4 younger children to look after and didn't have time or interest in talking about it. I'd never heard of near-death experiences before. I didn't think about it again until several years later, when I read or saw something about them on TV. There are a few beliefs about my life that I don't know where they came from. They appeared after my NDE, but I don't recall seeing an entity or being told about them in words. I knew from college on that I would be very close to a little girl. I assumed it was my stepdaughter from my first marriage, but we were only close when she was young. Then I thought it would be my own daughters, but God gave me identical twin girls who, because they were so close to each other, sort of shut me out. Because of the way things turned out, I was able to raise my granddaughter almost from birth. We're really close. As far as I can tell, I was always expecting her. I can communicate with and relate to animals. I was also a very successful teacher who was able to assist many inner-city students. I am also successful in community theater. I appear to have some psychic or inner ability. There are times when I know exactly what'll happen. I was correct, called 12 cards in a row at a blackjack table, both the suit and the value. My other times, I knew exactly what was going to happen. After the doctors said she would only be one of them, my daughter refused to die. I attribute my unusual abilities to my NDE because looking back, I was always afraid, timid, and shy as a child. During and after college and my NDE, I became more self-assured and fearless. I believe it was because I now know for certain that there is life after death. My time will come to pass over when it is supposed to. Why be scared? I try to enjoy every moment. I didn't realize why or how much I had changed until I learned that others had had NDEs similar to mine.
Wow, what an incredible story. Can you imagine having a near-death experience and coming out of it with newfound abilities? This is just one of the many stories we receive here at Strange Stories, and we're always amazed by the journeys our viewers have been on. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to catch more of these gripping tales. Who knows, maybe your story will be the next one we feature.